Hi everybody, it's David here. I just wanted to record something about industrial metaverse. It's something I've been involved in, of course, in my past work at Aviva. And I've started looking at podcasts and the various kind of content that's out there to see what other people are saying about it. I'm not super impressed, to be honest, about the content that's out there already. I think a lot of it focuses on what's the definition, what's the use cases of it. But I'm going to try and make a short video to help everybody understand the concepts and how it could potentially be interesting for you. So first of all, the metaverse, the term, Neil Stephenson, the background, I think, and the use of that word in that book is all about interconnected virtual worlds. I think today you'll hear many quotes of people saying if you ask 10 different people, you'll get 10 different answers. I think what that means is we are using the metaverse as a word to help us understand a paradigm shift. So it's a word that is really not quite got a very strict definition today, but it's something that's helping us understand a bigger, wider change. And in my opinion, that change is really the paradigm shift from the internet being a series of web pages. So the web being a series of two-dimensional web pages to the internet being something which essentially networks together a series or a network of three-dimensional digital spaces. And that's the fundamental difference in thinking right up front. So of course, metaverse could be used to describe a series of interconnected gaming worlds. It could be used to describe a series of interconnected industrial worlds and a set of interconnected commercial worlds. And that's why we tend to have these kind of different flavors of metaverse. And of course, in theory, all of those different types of interconnected digital spaces could be interconnected with each other. So you could go from a shopping experience in theory to a training on an oil rig type of industrial experience. Something else to help people understand that kind of concept is, well, I think the most important thing is to separate industrial metaverse into two questions. So the first question is there any benefit in having these digital spaces being interconnected? So today, if you look at any industrial organization, they're probably using a series of different digital spaces. So you could consider the 3D CAD model as a digital space. And that's basically inhabited by the engineers who are using a two-dimensional screen to look at the same 3D model on a CAD system like Aviva E3D or any other networked CAD system, where they are in the same digital space at the same time doing things. So synchronous or asynchronous CAD system that allows multiple people to work at the same time. So concurrent engineering, basically people are in that space designing at the same time, able to see each other's work. And of course, there's a benefit in that multi-user element of it. However, if you think about metaverse thinking, that would be the equivalent of saying, well, can the people inhabit the Aviva E3D world at the same time as they can inhabit the Navisworks world or the Autodesk Inventor world? And usually, today I think the answer is that having those different digital worlds being interoperable, the benefits are not really massive in terms of being able to, well, maybe there is. That's the kind of question that I think people need to ask. Is it a huge advantage to be able to read our Autodesk data natively in E3D, for example? So you can see where I'm going with this. The other element of metaverse thinking is the data worlds. So especially if you hear any of the Aviva material, we'll talk a lot about data being in silos, and there's a good reason for that. So essentially, work has been componentized into different disciplines, and that's been found to be a very efficient way to work, to have specialists working on different aspects of a design or a project or whatever it is. And of course, the software world has essentially evolved to serve those different disciplines and different specialities. So you'll have an ERP system for the people who are purchasing or doing financial control or project controls. you'll have a CAD system or a PLM system for the people who are managing engineering and design data, for example. And yes, there are these data silos. So the second and very important part of metaverse thinking is the interoperability of data worlds. And you could argue, is this a metaverse topic or not? I think it's a foundational layer for any kind of metaverse thinking. So in the industrial world, that would mean, is my CAD data from E3D able to interact or interoperate with the BIM data from Revit, for example? Or if you look at the operations world, is the data which I'm collecting from my cranes, for example, interoperable with the data I'm collecting about my energy management? And I think most people will realize just by asking this question, the answer is probably yes. And many people are trying to build these interconnected or interoperable data worlds, either by implementing a layer above that. So this is what I've learned where the Pi system is typically used, where you put that in as an enterprise data management system and connect it to various different operational data silos so that you have an overview, which is typically displayed on a 2D screen somewhere. Very important, of course, if you want to do machine learning and have a common set of managed data that you want to connect to. So interconnected data worlds, absolutely foundational for metaverse thinking. Interconnected or interoperable three-dimensional or 3D digital spaces, again, I think it's a foundational capability for metaverse. So having the ability to have your 3D content fully interoperable. Guess what? NVIDIA have been doing this with their Omniverse concept, where they're creating a kind of hub and spoke concept where you can have Omniverse as the hub. Let me think about this, right? And then you have spokes being basically data connectors using the USD format to go and connect to the different 3D content creation tools. So those content creation tools in the case of Omniverse are things like 3D Studio Max, total mind blank, but various tools that allow you to create 3D content, including CAD programs, I think, or at least that's what makes sense to me. So if you had all of your content creation tools connected, so this could be 3D Studio Max, Cinema 4D, Gravity Sketch, Autodesk Inventor, E3D, Revit, all of those kind of tools, if they can essentially spit out their data in a common format, USD, and be read in one common hub, which today's Omniverse, and there's various applications you can get for Omniverse to view that, then you're getting an interoperable world. So it's a little bit like what the engineering world does with Navisworks today. You take your smart plant model, you take your Revit model, you take your Aviva E3D model, and in Navisworks you can view them all together. Omniverse basically raises that up one more level in terms of the concept, where you can take CAD data and you can take mesh data, which is created in all these kind of content creation 3D tools. You can take textured data and you can put them all in the same place in the Omniverse hub. And that's the interesting thing, because then you can apply rendering to it, you can apply simulation, you can apply AI to it, and that's what Omniverse are really going for. So I think there's two very interesting concepts here, just to reiterate. The idea of having interoperable 3D digital spaces, which Omniverse I think helps with a lot today, or that concept, and the idea of having interoperable data worlds, which something like OSI Pi can perform, or various Azure services, Amazon services, as a data layer that's basically looking across the multiple silos. And you need that on the 3D world as well as the data world. So that's, of course, the foundations for metaverse thinking. Then there's a whole conversation about how do you experience that. And of course, everybody knows that I'm a big VR fan. So VR being, of course, a way, it's a technology today that allows us to experience a 3D digital space in an immersive way. It doesn't mean that you have to. I think you can still have metaverse thinking, so interoperable digital spaces and interoperable data worlds, without experiencing that through an immersive device. I simply think that an immersive device, ultimately in augmented reality glasses, when they're a little bit more ready for the market. And VR today allows you to experience all of that interconnected data in a really unique way, which allows you to remember it better, remember it as a real life experience, and of course to experience it in stereoscopic 3D, which is very important for various things that we do with digital models, spatial models. That's all for now. Hopefully this gets a really good discussion started. Have a great day. Bye for now.